With the fourth quarter underway, you may have different views on your finances than when the year started. There's no better time than the present when it comes to implementing smart money moves in your life to maximize your financial success. So today we share some financial moves you can make to upgrade your financial plan and investments. Stay tuned as we discuss all that and more right now on the Retirement Lifestyle Show.
Welcome to the Retirement Lifestyle Show. I'm your co-host, Roshan Loungani, here with Adrian Nicholson today. Eric is not with us today. He is backpacking as an anniversary trip, so he's in the mountains somewhere today. Adrian, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, Roshan. Happy to be on this podcast. I hope Eric is having a good time hiking. I know he enjoys doing that stuff a lot, so I can't wait to hear about it when he gets back. I'm doing pretty good. September was a really busy month. Last weekend was really busy with Alberto and Christina's wedding. I had a great time. Super thankful for being the best man. But let me tell you, being a best man, it's a lot of work. I just realized that, but everything went well. So I'm feeling really, really good and ready for another podcast.
What was the most unexpected task you had while you were doing a lot of work as the best man?
That's actually a pretty good thing that they didn't throw any unexpected tasks at me. So I was pretty much chilling for the most part. I'd say the one thing that kind of tripped me up a little bit is that I left my phone on the table when I was doing my best man speech. So it had to come all straight from memory, but everybody thought that was a funny start to it. So that kind of really helped me looking back at it. So I was really happy that my best man speech was well received.
Excellent. I want to see a video of that once you've got it.
I actually do have a clip of it. I'm pretty sure they have the whole thing, but like I said, it's pretty good. I mean, my hat goes off to those people that are our best men at a celebrity wedding, because that must be just insane. I mean, Alberto and Christina, they were really easy on me through the whole process, but I can only imagine if I had a really hard couple or some super lavish wedding or something, and I had to check off all these boxes, because man, it was a lot. But looking back at it, it all went so great.
That's great. Well, congratulations to Alberto and Christina on their recent wedding, and Adrian, congratulations to you on a great best man speech. From the sounds
I
of
did
it.
have a little stumble on the dance floor, but other than that, everything else went really well. I was just happy to be out there dancing with my fiance again. That was a good memory, and bumping into a lot of people who I went to college with too. It was kind of a trip down memory lane. The venue was only 5 minutes away from where I went to university, so it was overall a good time and a great weekend.
That's great. What was what I need details on the stumble on the dance floor. That sounds like an interesting part of the night.
It was kind of a stumble / dance move, so it wasn't a complete accident, but overall I could say I really went all out that night. So 2 thumbs up for me, that's for sure.
That's awesome. All right, let me move us on to our topic for today. We've got something really interesting lined up for everyone. It's right now early in October, so we're giving you a couple months notice to get your year-end planning in place. Now we've got a variety of items we're going to talk about that you should work on or prepare for or just think about to plan the year end. So, Adrian, I'll let you start us off. Let's start with what you have on your list. Actually, you have an interesting title of that you have for this. Share your title.
Yeah, I'll share a title and also kind of a little theme / joke around it. I think that would be a good intro to it. So the working title I have right now is "People who don't do these things before 2021 ends will have less money." And I think that's going to be a really interesting topic to discuss today. And my kind of theme / joke, it was kind of a running joke when I went to university, when it came to doing a project or an essay or any type of thing. This was kind of the joke. It's called if you wait till the last minute to do something, it only takes a minute to do. So I thought that was it's pretty clever, saying, if you're waiting for the last second to do something, it only takes you a second. Whether it ends up being good exactly how you want it, that's an argument for another day. But I think that's overall just a funny way to kind of motivate you, saying, it is kind of coming down to the end. There are a few months left in the year, but you still have an opportunity to change some things or add some new things or just get some stuff on your to-do list done. So I thought that was a kind of great way to kind of start this topic.
Yeah, and you're right. I think I've seen it's credited to Elon Musk that says something like, if you give yourself 3 weeks to clean your house, it'll take 3 weeks. If you give yourself 3 hours, it'll take 3 hours. So
That's good, honestly. And there's some people that like the pressure, when the clock's counting down, hit a buzzer beater shot just to get it done. So it just depends on who you are, a type of person. If you like giving yourself plenty of time, that's great. If you like working under the pressure and just condensing it all in a quick little go, more power to you.
yeah, well, we're giving you 2 months. So Adrian, tell me what's on the list for me to make sure that I do these items so I have more money in the future.
This one I thought was a really cool one, and this is really interesting too because we have been working for like a lot of clients that say they want to do a lot of traveling in retirement. And a good way where you could save your money and really plan ahead and to really have like a strategy in place is like planning a vacation or traveling as soon as you can, even if it's like a year or 2 year out, so you can lock in some really good rates and really good deals. And I think that's something that's really, a really smart thing to do. And honestly, I'm guilty of it. If I'm planning like a trip or a flight or something, sometimes I will wait till the last minute to do it, and then the prices will like skyrocket. Where if I can kind of lock it in a year in advance, I could be really save myself some money down the road. And if you're somebody that travels a lot, like every single year, or you plan on traveling more, this could be a really great way to plan ahead and also save some money along the way. So I thought that was a really good idea to kind of start us out with today.
I think that's a great one. Now, let me ask you about that. That sounds like an all year round type thing, not necessarily just something for the year end.
Mm-hmm.
Would
Yeah.
you agree? Like that's something you can do anytime.
Yeah, that's something you could do anytime. And it was just something that I thought it'd be like interesting to really share before, the year ends, just something to think about. Just, it gets really busy, especially when it hits around Thanksgiving time. It could be really hard to like sit down in front of your computer and really lock something in. So this was just an idea I wanted to throw out there just to see if you could implement this. So like I said, so you could save some extra dollars and, have that planning tactic in play.
Yeah, and I'm definitely guilty of needing to of not doing this, I should say. Today is Wednesday and my wife Steph's birthday is on Friday, and I still need to plan that trip that I told her we're going to take on her birthday weekend. So I've got 2 days, but I'm not getting special deals. I'm kind of getting whatever's left right now.
You got it, Roshan. I believe in you. You'll take care
Yeah.
of business like you always do.
Yeah, maybe I'll just get a last minute deal. I need to look for those. So what else is on your list to make sure you have more money next year?
I guess this isn't really like a year end one, but this is more of a month end one. And I think this is something that I'll probably do when I get home today. It's cancel at least one of your subscription or streaming services. And nowadays there are just so many on the list. I'll just run them off. There's Amazon Prime, Netflix, Disney Plus, Spotify, Hulu, HBO. It could be like a gym membership or something where, at the end of the year, you're going to get charged. I think that's a really good thing to even take a look at towards the end of the year, because people could really be like racking them up. So I think it's like a really good way to look at it. And if you're really going to lock down and do this, just figure out what you enjoy the most on the streaming platform and just take a weekend and just watch it and then shove it to the side. I think is really helpful. And the kind of parallel to this, or like the opposite end of this, would be to set up like some type of automatic saving or contribution, where which is pretty beneficial and go the long way, where you have these streaming services or subscriptions that will kind of charge you every month, and after a while you don't look at it. So also a good way to kind of combat this or counter this would just be set up an automatic saving, where that money that's coming in will be saved or invested in you over time, which can make a really big difference in the long run.
Well, and so let me ask you about that. You said you're going to do this today. So if I made you pick right now, what would you get rid of if you're doing this today?
If I had to get rid of, actually, it's not much so me because my fiance actually, this is kind of a running joke. She actually has all the streaming services and subscriptions, and whenever I want something, I just kind of search on it online and just try and find it that way. So I'll just guess have a conversation with that, saying, hey, which ones do you really like, and which ones do we not watch as much anymore that we can get rid of? I think is a pretty great way to save some money at the end of the month or whatever it may be.
Yeah, that would be a good way to do it. And I like how you coupled that with saving, because you could potentially just save what you whatever you were paying to that streaming service. You could automatically move that dollar value to the savings category.
Yeah, and these things, like, I feel like every day it's like a new like streaming service or a subscription or some type of thing that people are just adding on, where it was like, I could just say, like, a couple of years ago there weren't as many out there as there are now. So this is probably a pretty like new territory where you're just going to have to be monitoring as the years go on, because like I say, like after a while you have so many of them, you don't even really keep track of them. And like I said, when I get home, I'm gonna have that conversation with my fiance today. Like, what are we not really using? Let's just take a look at it right now and just get rid of it, because we're not even using it, but we're getting charged constantly. And that out of sight, out of mind thing really comes into play here.
Yeah, that is very true. And like you said, there are a lot of them. I tend to uh, get them and cancel them as we're using them. And you've got to ask your fiance, because she's got all the subscriptions. What I'll do is I'll just try to gauge what I think we're not using and cancel it. And then if nobody complains in the household, I made the right move. If somebody does, then I've got to bring it
Yeah,
back.
it's normally, I think you'll cancel it, and then like a couple of weeks later, somebody will want to use it again, or something will be like
Yes.
blowing up like online, saying, "Wow, the greatest show in the world on this like streaming service," or this super awesome thing. And just you have to get back to it. But just monitoring is like a really big thing and can really help you out at the end of the day. So I thought this was a good one to add to the list.
It is. And, it's no longer a surprise in the house that, like, oh, I thought we had this. It's more like, I know we had this. Did you cancel this? Is the conversation now. And usually
Yeah,
the answer is,
exactly.
yeah, I did cancel it.
That's a big one, but they're all good tips. And like I said, it can go a long way once you add it up.
It definitely can. What we actually switched 2 or 3 years ago to and we cut the cord and went to high speed internet from our regular cable provider, and streaming services for the television, and uh, I was the only one that was a fan of it at first, but I think at this point everyone in the family is okay with it, being that it's 2 years and I haven't gotten complaints in a long time. So
That's really solid. I'm glad for you though, but at the end of the day, it comes down to those just decision time, and like you said, just get rid of it at that point. And if you don't hear about it, then you probably made the right call on it.
yeah, exactly right. And same, not just in sort of tricking the family. Think the same would apply for people that are selecting their streaming services. That might be a good way to go about it, right? You cancel it, and if you don't notice it, you really weren't watching it. If you do, maybe you try canceling something else.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. That's for sure.
All right, excellent. These are great tips so far. What else do you have on the list?
Do you want to share one right now before I go into my next one?
I'll let you do yours first, just because mine are sort of a totally different direction, I think, so
Oh,
far. So mine are more year-end financial planning items. Some of them overlap, but I'll let you go through your entire list first, and then we'll flip over to mine.
okay, awesome. Well, the next one on mine is to perform that cash flow analysis sooner rather than later, and I think that's a good one. If you're somebody that kind of set that up at the beginning of the year and you really haven't taken like a look at it or just performed any kind of checks here and there, I think this would be a good time to do it. Like I said, once you kind of hit that like around Thanksgiving time, it could be really hard to really sit down and look at the numbers, but kind of see where the money's coming in and where's the money coming out. Like example, when we were talking about streaming services, kind of perform that overall check just to see where you're at, I think is really beneficial, and it can really help you out and really see if you are on track, or if you're not on track, or if you need to make some adjustments or whatever it may be, whatever they may be, I think could really help.
Yeah, actually, that's one I did have on my list as well, reviewing your budget. Now, we tend to do that with our clients in the first quarter, but there is definitely nothing wrong with doing it earlier so you can start off the year with that already completed and ready to move forward. What's next? That one definitely overlaps. What's next on your list?
The next one too is I probably might overlap with yours, and it's kind of very similar. I kind of just had this as like a little bit of a joke. Just dust off that investment statement or reset that password so you can get into your 401k to see how your investments are doing. And our previous episode, we talked about really how volatility picks up around this time of year. So what better time to really kind of check up on it than now and just see if you need to make changes, if you need to have a conversation with someone, just to overall just to look into it when volatility does pick up like we're seeing right now.
Yeah, I've got that on the list. I'm going to add one thing to it. So, in addition to reviewing your portfolio, which we both have on the list, I would say review your contributions to 401ks, to IRAs. I was speaking with a client last night who, good for them, they both got raises, but that pushed them over the maximum for their 401k contributions. So we were adjusting theirs down just so they don't go over. And then the counter holds true too. I met with clients a few weeks ago where they got raises and they were able to send that money to their 401k, that raise, to get them closer to the maximum contribution.
Yeah, that's big. And that kind of goes into another one on my list is just check to see where you've been contributing to have you made that contribution to your IRA or that educational savings plan, whatever it may be, just to see if you can help reduce that taxable income when it comes to the end of the year. That's really big. And like I mentioned, and a little bit at the start of this episode, just, have that automatic savings and make sure you have those contributions. So you're kind of, out of sight, out of mind. It's kind of automatic for you where you don't have to, let's just say when next year in the same position, you don't want to have to be checking this on every single year. You kind of want to have it set in place whenever you can do it. So you have that working for you. So you don't have to constantly check in on it. I think it's really important.
Yep, I've actually got, I want to highlight what you just said, because that was another one of mine as well, which was the 529 contributions. Make sure you get those in before the year end. With IRAs, you have till April 15th of the next year to make your contribution. 529s, you've got to get it in by the end of the year if you want to get a state tax deduction. So it's an important distinction. I do see people confuse that often enough where it's worth mentioning. What else is on your list?
Yeah, and like you said, it's better to kind of look at those dates now and those deadlines now, because you don't want it just to be like a surprise or come up on you unexpectedly where you have to do all this like planning and sitting down and then figuring out. Or I think, again, this is I kind of really like this episode again because it's kind of not waiting to the last minute. I think that's like the biggest concept and theme here. Try not to wait to the last minute, again, unless you're someone calm, cool, and collective like Roshan, that's a diamond in the rough that loves all that pressure, so you can just knock it out.
At the last minute for this vacation or weekend out of town planning, I wish I had not waited till the last minute and gotten it done earlier. So I like your advice of getting things done early.
I'm a little similar in that aspect, but also a little different. I like planning, but I don't like over planning, because I also like that kind of what what's the term you use sometimes when we're prepping for the podcast, where you don't want to like talk about it right now because you want to be the natural. I like
natural
some
reactions, yeah.
natural reactions, some spontaneous. I like, if I have like a trip fully planned out, I don't want to be planned out 100%, because I want something to kind of not throw a wrench in my plan, but just throw it in there to kind of, change it up, because that's what life's all about. Some of those like unexpected good surprises, I think is something that I really enjoyed, because that was one thing that I think was really good looking back at Alberto's bachelor party. I had it planned pretty much down. I'd say I had like 85% of it really planned out, but I also left that 15%, who knows mystery going into the unknown. And overall, I kind of looking back at it was great. I really like doing that.
Well, it went well. So whatever formula you use worked.
Yeah, I just gotta keep it up. But I'll go on to my next one if you're
Yes.
ready for that. But these next ones you'll probably be able to shed a little bit more light on than I am. But I thought these were just really good points to make. Start looking at some of your losses to offset your taxable gains. I think is going to be really important, where you can start looking at that now to see what positions you think you might should sell at this point, so you could kind of reduce that. I think is really important.
Yep, I've got that on there as well. And just a reminder to everyone, you're only allowed to take losses of $3,000 per year, and you can offset your gains and losses. So if you've got some gains this year, just with what the market has done for the majority of the year, and if you've taken them, it may be an opportunity in the markets we have now, with the higher volatility and the markets having pulled back a little bit, to take some losses.
Yeah, I think this is a really good strategy that some people don't know about. I remember I was talking to a friend of mine recently, and he was telling me how like he was really all beat up about like this loss that he had in his investment portfolio. And I really told him to kind of like look to see how he can make this loss into a positive. And I think that's like it sounds really weird where you're using like a loss in your portfolio to overall help out. I think that's really interesting. You really can't find that anywhere else, where you're kind of losing a loss to your advantage. It really sounds good on paper, honestly. So that's a strategy you really can implement at the end of the year that could really help out in a long way.
Yeah, I was recently reading an article, and they were talking about Ted Wexler, who works with Warren Buffett at Berkshire Hathaway now. He manages a big part of the stock portfolio, and he had a quote that I'm looking up right now that I really liked. He said, "Here it is." He says, "One of my personal investment mantras is that there's no such thing as a loss. It is just an unmonetized lesson." So I think with what you said with your buddy, if he can learn something from it and not make that mistake again, it can help him become a better investor. If he looks at it as just a loss and doesn't take anything from it aside from that, he'll probably repeat the mistake again. So I would tell you to share that information to him, or tell him to listen to this episode.
Will do. And is there any, I got to believe there's both pros and cons to doing this kind of towards, let's just say like a couple months before the end of the year or closer to the end of the year. What's kind of your take on it? Or at that point, it really just doesn't matter?
Well, I like reviewing it now because it gives people time to take action on it. Or give it some thought before they take action on it as well. So you've got time to react. Do you have other things on that list, or I've got a few more that I'll share as well?
Um, I only have one more, but I'm almost positive it's on your list, so I won't say it unless it's not on your list, and then I'll bring it up.
You sure?
So
Okay.
that's a little bit of a teaser, I guess.
Yeah, we can move on then. I've got a couple others. One is check your flexible spending account. So if you've got a flexible spending account where you need to spend money out of it before the year is over so you don't lose it, you want to make sure you plan that out. I remember years ago talking to a friend who's an optometrist, and saying that the end of the year gets really busy because people just try to spend that money before it's gone. I've heard dentists say the same thing as well, that people try to get in right before the year's over. So that's one where your earlier question about us talking about this in October lines up, because if you wait till December, you may not be able to get that appointment, and you may end up losing some of your flex spending money.
I mean, that one just pretty much sounds like it applies to pretty much everybody. Like, is there like a scenario or like a client situation where you're talking to somebody and you're like, just like use the money in your FSA, and they were just like, oh, I just want to save it even though I'm going to lose it? As different as that may sound, have you ever ran into something like that?
Well, so I've actually never come across a situation like that, but also some of them will now let you roll it over. I've seen that online, but I have not experienced that with any of my interactions with clients. I don't actually have a client where I think they can roll it over. I think everyone we work with pretty much has to use it or lose it. So I can't imagine someone just saying, let's lose the money intentionally. Although I know it happens to people where they forget about it and they don't use it in time. So you've got 2 months or I'm sorry, you've got really 3 months to use it or lose it. So make sure you do.
And try and lock that appointment in as soon as possible so you're not bombarding your local dentist or optometrist out there.
Yes, exactly. The next one on my list is a very important one. If you're over 72, make sure you take your required minimum distributions. If not, you're looking at penalties in the 50% neighborhood. Now, a sub category of that is you can make charitable distributions, qualified charitable distributions, where you can take your required minimum distribution and send that to a charity, which may reduce your taxes, especially with the increase in the standard deduction. This is something I have clients, more and more clients taking advantage of in retirement with their required minimum distribution. So take the distribution. One, second, you can use it for charitable donations using qualified charitable distributions. And unrelated to required minimum distributions, but another one on here is prepaying your charitable distributions. I have one client in particular comes in every year, and they're on the borderline between using the standard deduction and being able to itemize. So what we've done in previous years is we've looked at how close they are, and we've made determinations whether they're close enough. Should they make some of the charitable gifts they would have made in early the first quarter the following year? Should they make them by the end of the year and get them over the threshold to itemize?
That's awesome. I mean, it's a really smart strategy to use. And again, it's kind of just, you know, you're forced to take out this RMD. So you're using it in a way that also like benefits you. I think is it's really great when you can kind of get a double win on it.
Yeah, exactly. You definitely can. You're getting a win potentially with the deduction. You're be able to give it to the charity, and they'll be able to use it and help with obviously a cause you believe in, or you wouldn't be giving your money to them.
Yeah, and if it works out so well, I'm assuming you could just implement this strategy every year and kind of just have it like automatic. So the sooner you're able to figure this out, the better you are, and just don't have to worry about it going forward, where you just kind of have this set in place. I think is really great.
Yes,
And I'm
completely
sure the
agree.
charity is just as happy about it as well. So that's also really great.
Yeah, it definitely is a situation where if you plan this out correctly, everyone can win.
Yeah, exactly. That's great. Nice one.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Next, I've got on here, this is one something that everyone kind of just has to do at this time of year, but review your benefits, whether it's employer benefits if you're working, or if it's Medicare, you've got to review that benefit as well. So you're kind of forced into it because of this time of year. You've got open enrollment, but what I would add on to that is review your needs as well. So just thinking of, we've talked about the flex spending. Look at what you've spent this year, and when you update your benefits, make sure if you're caught in a situation where you're trying to spend a lot of money at the end of the year that you don't really need to, maybe you lower that. Or same thing with insurances. A lot of people, you've got your insurances through work, life, disability insurance, your medical insurance. Review your needs as well as your existing policies, and then make adjustments as needed during your open enrollment.
That's a big one. Since you're on the subject of insurance, what about car insurance? I was reading something where you're supposed to shop around that like every 6 months or like every year, like twice a time, like 2 times. Like, is that something you do or you've heard of?
I wish I did it. I don't look at it every 6 months. They typically renew every 6 months. So there's your opportunity for savings. I switched to my current provider probably 4 or 5 years ago. And I maybe not quite as long, but let's say it was 4 or 5 years ago. I don't remember exactly when, but I think that's the last time I looked at it. And when I did switch over, it was a significant savings. So I think that's a great point and great advice to look at it every 6 months because it renews every 6 months. So you might be able to get a better deal.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, that was on my list to just have that insurance talk sooner rather than later, to see what you need, find the cheapest possible option, and then you're really taken care of. I think that's a really big one. Honestly, I feel like all these ones are really helpful. So I'm really proud of the list we've been coming up with. Do you have any more on your side?
Yep, I've got a few more. When we're talking about reviewing things, review your beneficiaries. Make sure your beneficiaries are as you would like them to be, so it's going to the right person. I had a situation probably more than 10 years ago. It's when I was a manager, which was at a different firm. So that was actually more than 13 years ago, where there was a situation where a woman had was married, and we were looking at her retirement plan at work, which she had been employed for probably 10, 15 years at the same place. Don't remember how many years she was married, but when we were looking at that, her beneficiary was her ex-boyfriend. So had
Wow.
she passed away, her husband would not have been happy with her ex-boyfriend getting all of her money in her 401k plan.
Exactly. I can't imagine a situation where that would have been a good situation, but it doesn't take that long to really update a beneficiary. You just got to know about it, and you could probably take care of it in less than a week, if not that. So it's something really quick that you could do that could really make a pretty much like a life impact at this point.
Yeah, and Adrian, when you say less than a week, I think with most places now you can actually do it online or within a form. So it's probably
Yeah.
minutes to review and update and adjust or just confirm that it's the same beneficiary you want. But you never know what you'll find. Every so often you'll see things like typo in there,
Mm.
inaccurate birth date or social security or something. So definitely good to review that. Um, while we're in the reviewing things category, review your estate plan, kind of similar to, but not the same as your beneficiaries on existing accounts. But make sure your will, trust, healthcare, power of attorney, make sure all of that is current. Whenever we talk about these items, I also say full disclosure is very important here to prevent future uh, conversations, arguments, or fights with your beneficiaries. Definitely seen situations where people wondered why one person was the beneficiary versus the other. I've also had situations where people thought they had a healthcare power of attorney in mind, and then that person said, I can't do that role for you. I couldn't do it for anyone was kind of the conversation. So make sure you review that, and you've selected your beneficiaries, you've passed on what you want to the right person, and you've made sure you've had the conversation with them so they know why.
Yeah, honestly, in most cases, I mean, you could disagree with me on this. If you leave something up to interpretation, it sometimes really doesn't go as planned. So, like you said, just have it lined all the way out and just have that conversation, just so it just kind of makes the whole process go a lot smoother, because it can be a really difficult process sometimes. So you don't want to add any kind of like unknown to it. I think is a really important, a really great one.
Yeah, I have a client I worked with that passed away over 10 years ago. Their children were clients as well at the time. And when they when the client passed away, the majority of his assets went to one child. And the family common sense wise knew that the other two were doing well financially, didn't need as much support. That's the common sense answer. But in an emotional moment, the siblings ended up not talking to each other for years. And one of them was like, well, did he not love me because he gave all the money to this person? The other one said, well, I took most of the care of him, not the other one. So they had all these other issues. And sometimes in an emotional moment, the common sense answer that, quite frankly, they all knew, but was never discussed, uh, gets them thinking about all these other possibilities. So I would say just
Hmm.
make sure that, as I mentioned earlier, you have some of those conversations if you haven't already, so they know what's going on.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great one.
Next, more in an easy one that we talk about, I think, whenever we do this. If you owe money in your state taxes, pay them before the end of the year so that you can claim them this year on your federal taxes as a deduction. If you wait until 2022 to pay those state taxes, well, you won't claim it on your federal taxes until 2022. Another item on here I've heard people do in the past. Now you can only do this once, but if you prepay that January mortgage payment, you can claim that interest deduction early. Now you can only do that once because if you eventually get locked into the cycle of doing it every year to get that full deduction. And I've got a couple more. I'll just go over a couple quick ones, and then one that I think we should talk a little bit more in depth about, or one quick one. Just check your emergency savings accounts. We have clients, we set a target for them to have 2 to 6 times their expenses just available if there's an emergency. Well, expenses changes and your life situation changes. So for example, when I have a clients retire, usually where they are within that range tends to go up. And also, if expenses changed, you bought a car, you switched your house, you may want to change how much you like to keep for your emergency savings.
Yeah, that's a good one. And I came across that when I was prepping for this podcast as well. It just said add an extra month on top of your emergency savings account, just to have that extra buffer, or if you need, I think is really big. And just the kind of just monitoring, like you said, like if your expenses or anything has changed recently, you could just be just prepared and have that cash on hand, I think can go a long way and make, when you need it, make a stressful situation less stressful. That's always a good one to do.
Yeah, completely agree. I don't know if I'd say blanket to add on a month. I would just look at it overall and see what you have and what your comfort level is. And as you mentioned, adding on, there are also, and I mentioned the same for retirement, but there also are situations where people lower what they keep in cash. What I'll see as a pretty common scenario is if we work with a client that has a lot more in cash than they need, and then we help them invest part of it. Well, they typically will still want to keep more than they think they need. And then when they get comfortable with this other account, they'll then lower down to that target of what they actually need. So that's another situation where I just wanted to give an example of a situation where you may lower your target versus raising it always. Another one is
And it
if
could
you
be
have,
it could be a benefit too. Like the sooner you start this emergency saving account, just keep it and kind of monitor it over the years and keep adjusting it, then you could kind of really find that like set amount that you'll be really comfortable with moving forward. So it can kind of really go from a really big estimate to kind of really boiling down to the actual number, I think is really good. But that's a really solid one, Roshan. What was your next one?
next, I've got 2 more for us. One is more overall planning, which is plan for any life events. If you're thinking the next year, you might change jobs, you might change your home, purchase a car. Um, Also health related. If there is a surgery coming up, if you have any of these kind of issues that you know will be coming up in the next few months or the next few years, it would be worth thinking them through and planning them out. So that's the other one. Finally, we've done an episode about this, and I know we've talked about revisiting this, so I don't want to spend too much time on it, but consider Roth conversions. There is a possibility that it will go away for some people, Roth conversions in the future. And by Roth conversions, I'm referring to both just converting some traditional IRA assets to a Roth. I'm referring to, and I said both, I thought of a third item. So one, converting traditional IRA assets to a Roth. Second, backdoor Roth contributions. And third, if you are currently employed and contributing to a 401k plan, there's a consideration of should I do a Roth versus traditional 401k? So I think all 3 of those are worth spending some time thinking about and determining if it makes sense for you to take some action on.
That's a big one. Hedge against future tax rate increases too. That's a really big one. People, the tax subject is very sensitive. So if you can just hedge against this, that's all for it. But like you said, we have a really great episode on it. We'll point you into that direction in our show notes. But again, I knew that was going to be the one that we have overlap with. So that was the one, Roshan.
That was your last one. Yeah, I'm glad I didn't miss it. I would have felt like a dummy if you had said,
I
I'm
was
sure you
kind of
have it on the
hoping you
list.
were. I was kind of hoping you would miss it because I would have probably looked like a superstar if Eric listened to that. You like Adrian's the one that caught the Roth
The
version. He
Roth.
would have gave me a pat on the back when he came back.
Yeah, and I want to add one piece. You had mentioned a hedge against future tax increases. Definitely can do that. The other thing is minimum distributions. We'll frequently see clients who are required when they're 72 to take out more money than they need at age 72 due to required minimum distributions, while shifting to a Roth or doing some conversions along the way uh, will help mitigate that problem. It'll help lower what you need to take out later to get it more in line. And if rates are higher, Adrian, as you said, hedging against future tax rate increases. Well, if rates are higher and you're able to do that at a lower rate, it makes it pretty much an easy decision if you're able to convert at a lower tax rate than you'll have in the future. But that is everything on my list. Do you have anything else that you'd like to add?
I don't right now. I just wish I could put a number on how many tips that we had. I feel like there was I'd say maybe north of 20, maybe close to 30. So these are a lot of good ones. And if you just use one of them, it can make a big impact and a difference. So I think that's kind of a good thing to look at.
Yeah, my list, and you covered some of these items, but you had additions to this. But my list says 17. So I think we are definitely
I went
north of
through
20.
around 8, so we're probably just a little south of 30, but our jokes let's just push that to 30. Let's just say 30.
Let's say almost 30 or around 30. I think that works. And Adrian, on your meet the host segment that you started last time, do you have anything that you have come up with, any top 10 lists
Awesome.
or
I'm
any
glad you
other
mentioned
meet
that.
the host
I do. I was going to do
information?
this on the last episode, but we didn't have time. I'm pulling it up right now. I'll just run through it. It's 10 things Adrian wants to do when he retires.
Okay, let's go. Let's go through. What's on the Adrian's retirement list?
First one, coaching. That'd be really cool,
Coaching.
just doing retirement. Whether it's a sport or whatever it may be, coaching, it's a lot of fun. I did that at university. I coached girls basketball. That was fun. I always dressed up in a suit and tie for every game, had them run plays and stuff. So it was a lot of fun looking back at it.
So let me ask you a question. You said you say at university, which to me is a very European/Canadian. Yeah, I think I have relatives in India that say that, but I was used to people be born and raised in the United States saying go to college. How did you
Yeah.
get the university? Did you hang out with a bunch of European people? Where did
It's
that come
actually
from?
very recently. I don't know what, but something I've heard it like maybe like if I could put a time frame on it, like literally 2-3 months ago, and it
It's stuck.
sounds, I guess, very European. So that's what I'm saying for the podcast.
All right.
The next one, golf. That's a common one. If you listen to any of the podcasts before, I want to play golf. Break 80. That's the thing I learned. You got to break 80. Another one on my list, mentor, being a mentor. I think that's a good one. Mentor and coach are kind of like the same thing, but I guess coach falls more into the sports and the mentor is kind of your career field or whatever it may be. The next one is just water. Anything that does anything with water, being on a boat, on the beach, whatever it may be. That's a big one. Spend time with family. That's a common one. That's a easy one to do. Hikes with my dog. Hopefully Alfred makes it all the way up until retirement. He'll just have to become like a superhero dog if he wants to live that long. But going on hikes, Eric will probably like that one, but with a dog, I think would be pretty cool.
Nice.
The next one, make content online. Basically what we're doing now with the podcast. I just want to continue that pretty much my whole life, honestly. I think that's a big one, fun one. Just pretty much the sky's the limit. You can do everything you want with it. I think it's a good one.
Actually, not to interrupt you on that, but what you're doing now, I think, and with continuing to make content, that could be help fulfill your mentoring/coaching goals as well.
Really? Yeah. I never thought about that. I can just package them up and knock them out that way. So it's pretty solid. I'm really happy with this list. And I got three more. The next one's grill and chill. That's a fun one. My friend helped me come up with that one. That's a classic one. Grilling and chilling. That's
Yes.
always fun. The next one, like music festivals, music events, whatever it may be. I don't think I'll lose my love for music anytime soon. So that'd be a good one. And then the last one, VR gaming. I'm hoping in the future when I retire, games will just be super like cool, super immersive, super over the limit where I'm an 80-year-old man. It makes me feel like I'm like 30 years old in like Game of Thrones or something. So that'd be pretty cool.
That would be cool if you're have you tried any VR gaming at all right now?
No,
Do you like it?
I haven't. But I saw this like really funny commercial. It's like this like really like intense looking boxer like in like the ring like fighting it, and then like the VR gaming head takes off, and it's just this very old lady. So I thought that was
That's boxing.
that's
Nice.
why it made my list. So that was it. That's my list. That's a kind of insight so you can get to know me a little bit more and just see what I like to do. So appreciate it, Roshan.
Yeah, I love it when a 25-year-old has their retirement goals. And I'm serious. Yeah, a little bit of a joke, but a little bit serious. Serious
It's
in the
actually
sense that people.
a running joke that me and Alberto come up with, just retiring and all that stuff when we were at, I'll say it again, university. We'd always talk
Yeah.
about what we want to do in retirement.
Yeah, well, what I love about it is you're seeing a lot of I've mentioned this before, the FIRE movement, and FIRE standing for financial independence, retire early. I just love that you've got this community of people thinking about it so young and so early. So part that was the serious part of my joke. The other part of my joke is you're only 25. Yeah, right. So you've got a ways to go,
That's
but
the good
I
one.
definitely
That's a classic.
I definitely applaud you for thinking about it. I would highly encourage others to think about it early. You know, planning your retirement rather than having it just happen and you having to deal with the consequences of not really planning it out. So I like
I
your
mean,
top 10 list.
Roshan, I am on the retirement lifestyle show, so I should have some type of idea what I want to do in retirement.
Good
So that's
point.
my only point to that. But it's all good. It's been
That's
fun recording this episode with you, and we've had a lot of good tips. So two thumbs up.
Yeah, I agree. I like it for all of our listeners. Please like, subscribe, tell your friends and family about us. Please give us 5 stars. Also, visit our website, retirementlifestyleshow.com. We have all the episodes. We've got additional information, tips. Give us questions, any show topics you'd like us to cover. We have on many occasions actually made shows around what people have asked for. And as always, thank you for listening and joining us. This has been another episode of the Retirement Lifestyle Show. We will be back to speak to you and enjoy your time and our time next week.